Have you ever struggled to gain traction, to achieve your goals, or self-sabotage right before a major breakthrough? If so, chances are your belief system was misaligned. In this powerful video, I'm going to share with you research, stories, insights, and practical tips to help you harness your beliefs to create the ultimate life. Hey guys, thank you for watching this video. Make sure that you press subscribe and to click on the link to get 3 amazing classes, power yoga, yin yoga, and meditation to increase that strength, flexibility, and calm. All right, let's jump into the video. Welcome to episode number 57 of the Be Ultimate podcast. This is your host, Travis Elliott, and welcome back to another powerful episode. This one is huge. This podcast, we are going to go so deep into a topic that is life-changing. Thank you for your support. Thank you for tuning in. Last week we had the best podcast reach since this started about a year or so ago. So the podcast is expanding. It's now reaching thousands of people on a weekly basis. And I really want to just thank you. Bows of gratitude to you for subscribing to the podcast, leaving reviews, leaving comments, and sharing this important content with your friends, your family, and your community. So do me a favor, if you like what we're talking about, if you find what we're talking about to be valuable, take a screenshot, share it as a story on Instagram, and help me spread wisdom. Help me spread this knowledge. The world needs it. So, episode number 57 of the Be Ultimate podcast this week, we are going to discuss why your beliefs have a huge impact. A huge impact on everything. It all goes back to your beliefs and your belief system. And sadly, for a lot of us, the thing that's holding us back more than anything else is our negative beliefs or our limiting beliefs. We're not able to fulfill our potential. We're not able to gain traction, to achieve our goals simply because of these beliefs. And a lot of these beliefs that are bundled up with our thoughts and our emotions, they exist in our subconscious. So we're not even aware of it because it's buried in there. It's buried deep in our brain. In fact, 95% of who you are by the age of 35 is in the subconscious mind. And that's true unless you have modalities and practices and strategies and tools within your life where you become aware. We all have the capacity, and these tools have existed in the wisdom traditions for thousands of years of shining light and illuminating what is going on within our subconscious mind. And it's my hope that as we go through the podcast this week, that this knowledge, and I'm gonna go deep. I'm gonna share a lot of research, a lot of science in this one. If you feel like you want to go and see the transcript, feel free to visit thebeultimatepodcast.com. All this will be written out for you because it's the science and the research that really presents a convincing and compelling argument of why your beliefs have a huge impact on everything. So if you found yourself in your life, just falling short of your goals, if you found that you've just struggled to really achieve the things that you want, whether that's in your career or your health, your personal development, your relationships, again, a lot of that is going to trace back to the source of it all. And the source of it is that belief system. So a lot of times, we desire more. As human beings, we are a desire machine. We desire for growth. In fact, we are meant to grow, and the moment we stop growing is the moment that we start dying. So we may want or desire more things. Some of us, we want more money. But then we have that belief that we don't deserve to have more money. Or maybe we heard from a parent or a family member that money is the root of all evil. So part of us desires to have more money, but then we have this belief system that says money is bad. And so that creates conflict. And it's that conflict that's holding us back. Another example is some of us, we want to be more fit. We want to lose weight, but we may have a belief that we don't deserve to be beautiful, or we don't feel worth it. We don't feel deserving of looking good, of being beautiful. Or maybe we have a belief that it's selfish to take time out of our day to go and exercise, to devote time to just ourselves. So we have these limiting beliefs, that for whatever reason, what we want is not possible. Or one of the worst limiting beliefs is, I can't. The author Paul Schill says, you have to give up I can't. The phrase I can't is the most powerful force of negation in the human psyche. So when you have that I can't in the back of your mind, but then there's also a part of you that desires and wants more, again, the only thing you're bumping up against is yourself. You can't blame somebody outside of you. You have to become aware that these obstacles and these hindrances are actually coming from within you. Dr. Norman Vincent Peale said, people become really quite remarkable when they start thinking that they can do things. When they believe in themselves, they have the first secret of success. So we have to change I can't into I can. We have to change the phrase impossible into it's possible. And as I've said on other podcasts, the word impossible says I'm possible. Now, one of the things that we often do that maybe we're not aware of because we've been doing it so long for so many years is when we say that phrase, I am. We may say something like, I am clumsy. We knock something over and whoever's around us, we say, oh my God, I am such a clumsy person. And anytime we knock it over, we fall or we trip, we say that, right? We reinforce that belief over and over until it becomes wired into our subconscious mind. We may say, I'm really bad with names. I know that I had that for a long time because teaching in public, I would come into contact with a lot of people every day, and I would always say, I'm really bad with names. And that would just reinforce my ability to learn people's names. So although it can be difficult to keep track of everybody's names, I let that phrase go and I do my best to, learn people's names. And it may take time, but at least it's not going to take nearly as long as it was when I had that limiting belief, I'm bad with names. Sometimes we have the limiting belief, I am not a morning person. Do you say that? Have you heard somebody else say that? And then what happens? You wake up every morning and you're groggy and you're irritable and you're cranky. You've wired this belief, I'm not a morning person. Or we may have something like, I'm not a math person or an English person or a science person or a yoga person or a spiritual person. We say these phrases, I am, and it's such a powerful phrase when we say I am. It is a powerful declaration that we have to be very, very mindful and very, very careful of how we use that powerful vernacular. So there was a research study, 2006 in Canada, and what they did was they went to, I believe it was a high school, and they went to girls, and they split the girls up into two different groups. And one group of girls, they said, genetically, girls are not as good at math as boys are. The second group, they didn't say anything. They just let them take the test. And after both groups took the test, the group of girls that was told that they were genetically inferior to the group of boys, they scored way less on their math test than the group of girls that weren't told anything. So simply having that belief that you're not good at something, it instills a program, it instills a thought inside the brain, and then you believe that, and then that belief carries through your actions and through your reality and into the end result of things. So the biggest barrier to positive change in your life are your beliefs. So what are your beliefs? What is your belief system? I know for myself, when I started teaching yoga about 15, 16 years ago, I loved teaching yoga, and I started to study the psychology and also started to study the yoga philosophy that really address the power of the mind. And as I started to do this work, I revealed that I had this real limiting belief, which was I'm not good enough. And so that affected the way that I was teaching my yoga classes. Again, there was a conflict. There was a part of me that loved to teach yoga. There was a part of me that didn't want to do anything else. But there was also that frequency or that noise that was saying, you're not good enough. You're not worthy of this. You're not capable of greatness and success and doing big things in the world. And this held me back. It was putting a lid on what was possible. It was putting me into a straitjacket of fulfilling my potential. And of course, as I began to do this work and as I began to shift that belief, and again, the belief is the root. It's the root of all things. Then as I shifted the beliefs, that changed the thoughts, the emotions, the speech, the actions. That began to have a huge impact within my external reality, all from making that switch of that belief system. Now, part of our fear of really owning a belief of greatness is that we're going to be judged or that we're going to be criticized. But you have to keep in mind, they never make statues of critics. They never glorify the people that sit around and judge people that are doing great things. History only celebrates those that have triumphed against all odds and acted boldly and therefore manifested greatness and great things. So nobody's opinion about yourself matters more than yours. Your opinion matters. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks. So the last thing that we want to do is to worry about what other people are going to think about us. Now this ties into also this theme of a perception and our belief system that color the way that we perceive the world. So there was a study in 2002, and they looked at 447 people for more than 30 years. And they looked at and studied optimists versus pessimists. And what they found after this long 30-year study is that the optimists, the people that perceived the silver lining within things. They found the good within things. They always search for how can this challenge or this moment of adversity or negativity be spun into something that I can learn from and grow from. What's the good within all things? The optimists experience less pain, more energy. They were better socially, they were happier, calmer, and more peaceful, simply because of their perception. Soon after this particular study, there was another study done by Yale. In this study, they studied 660 people that were 50 years and older. And they studied this group of people for about 23 years. And what they found is, same thing, they studied the optimists versus the pessimists. And that the optimists lived an average of 7 years longer than the pessimists. So the way that we perceive the world, our belief system actually has an impact on our longevity. Now, another powerful way that we see the power of beliefs in effect is when we look at the placebo effect. And of course, the placebo effect is when they give a patient a pill, the patient thinks that the pill is some form of medicine, but it's just a sugar pill. So they give the patient the pill, and even though there's no medicine in the pill, very often the person taking this sugar pill, they get better. They feel better. And I know this has happened for myself where I've had an issue or I've been sick and I've gone to the doctor, and almost immediately just going into the doctor's office, I start to already feel better because I trust and I believe that this person that I'm going to is going to help me feel better. So a powerful study that looked at the placebo effect was a research study done in 1998. This was a meta-analysis of various published studies of antidepressants. This was executed by PhD psychologist Irving Kirsch. And he looked at 19 randomized double-blind clinical trials involving about 2,300 patients. And most of their improvements were due to the placebo effect and not the antidepressant drugs. And there's been many of these studies that have done over and over and over again, even more severe than depression, working with people with cancer. And I believe that a lot of the placebo effect really began in a war when they ran out of anesthesia. The patient thought that they were receiving anesthesia, and they performed major surgery on a soldier's leg, and he didn't feel it. He felt like it was numb. So they said, oh my God, this is crazy. The mind is so powerful. It thinks it's receiving anesthesia, but it's not receiving anything. So let's start studying this connection between the mind and the body. And this was really the birth of the mind-body connection, or what's known as psychoneuroimmunology. So this is where we study the thoughts and the emotions and the beliefs and how that impacts our immune system. Now, sometimes installing a new belief can have a radical effect in our life. And again, this is the power of when you change your beliefs, how you change your life. 2007 study done by Harvard psychologists Aaliyah Crum and Ellen Lunger. This involved 84 hotel maids. This is pretty fascinating. So they went to these maids that worked in the hotel hospitality industry, and they went to one group and they told one group that, hey, what you're doing just on a normal daily routine is actually a form of exercise, that it meets the standards of what's considered to be exercise. And they gave the maids exact information on how many calories that they were burning. They gave them information on why what they were doing was exercise. The other group of maids, they didn't say anything. After a month had passed, they went back and they did some testing. They looked at some biomarkers within the 84 maids. And what they determined was the group of maids that they told why they were doing and performing their job and their normal task was a form of exercise, that group lost an average of 2 pounds. They lowered body fat, and their blood pressure dropped about 10 points all because they were instilled this knowledge and therefore this belief that what they were doing was a form of exercise. What we are conditioned to believe about ourselves affects our success and our performance. Frank Lloyd Wright said, the thing always happens that you really believe in. And the belief in a thing makes it happen. So it turns out the things that you make happen are up to you. You're in control. It's totally up to you. What do you want to make happen? What things do you want to create in your life? You know, it was the same for Roger Bannister, who back in 1954 did something that was said to be impossible. Skeptics, critics, the judges of the world, they said he could not do what he wanted to do. And of course, what he wanted to do, he wanted to break the 4-minute mile. But they all said it couldn't be done. But he didn't buy into that limiting belief system. And on May 6, 1954, he broke the 4-minute mile. Now get this. The 4-minute mile had never been broken despite hundreds, maybe thousands of people trying to do it. But right after he broke it, 46 days later, an Australian named John Lundry, he broke the record. And then 1 year later, in one race, 3 other runners broke the 4-minute mile. And since then, thousands of other runners have broken that. So when you transcend limiting beliefs, you create a blueprint in the realm of potentiality. It's almost like you're a trailblazer and you're creating a path where you're showing people what is possible. But if you buy into the limiting beliefs of society and culture and the messages of what other people are telling you, then you're never going to have that potential to show people what's possible. And of course, what's possible is to create new paradigms of growth, greatness, and success. So now that we know the power of beliefs, let's talk about, and we'll finish the episode by discussing really how can you put this knowledge into action. I've broken this down into 7 steps, 7 practical takeaways that you can do. Number 1, become aware of your beliefs. If you're not aware of it, if you don't know what's happening in your subconscious, if you're saying those I am phrases and you're unconsciously limiting yourself over and over, then you're never going to have a fighting chance. So first you have to become aware. There has to be that awareness that's monitoring and watching and observing the thoughts that are moving through the mind, how your emotions are coming and going, the words that you're saying, how you're behaving. That we need that bird's eye view and perspective to become more aware. And you may not catch everything, you may not be 100% on point all the time, but even if you're 50% on point, that's a 50% improvement from where you were before. So become aware. Number 2, you want to choose which programs that you're going to replace. So as you become aware of what your limiting belief is, what your limiting program is, you're going to say, I'm going to replace this. I'm no longer going to hold myself back anymore because of these limiting beliefs. Number 3, you want to make sure that you catch yourself anytime you say that I am phrase. So the I am not a morning person, I am not good at math, I am an introvert, whatever it is, you want to be really good at catching yourself. So being aware of that as well, that the words that you speak, the words that come out of your mouth have a big impact on what's happening in your life. And I recommend that you ask a friend, you ask somebody in your life that you can trust to hold you accountable, because we all have these blind spots. And this is why it can be good to have a coach or a mentor, somebody that can help shine the light on those blind spots. You want to make sure that you're asking somebody who isn't going to like judge and criticize and make you feel like, you know, you're just not a good person, or you know, you're not good at this. You know, you want somebody who's going to tell you the truth, but they're going to do it in a loving, compassionate kind way. Number 4, you want to remember that you are empowered to choose what you strengthen and what you weaken. This is the big difference between us and the rest of the animal kingdom, right? Is the power of choice. You have choice. Your choice exists in the prefrontal cortex of the brain. This is like the CEO of your brain, or the conductor of the brain, communicating to the rest of the brain what's going to go down. So you want to activate that prefrontal cortex and always make choices that are in alignment with who you want to be, where you want to go, what you want to become. Number 5, switch external validation for internal validation to increase your success and fulfillment. I'm going to say that one more time because it's so important. Switch external validation for internal validation. Remember, the only person's opinion that matters about yourself is you. That's what matters. It's about what you feel within and validating yourself from within, so you're not giving your power up to these external sources and these external messages. And if you're not clear on your own internal validation system, then you're going to fall into that trap of giving your power up to these forces outside of you. That's never a good path, never a good road. You want to be the writer of the script. You want to be the director of your life story. Number 6, take a little bit of time every day, even if it's 5 minutes, to journal. What would the highest version of you believe about yourself? The highest version of you, the part of you that had no end to what was possible. Reflect upon what those beliefs would be inside that highest version of yourself. And then, right, how would that person be thinking? What thoughts would be moving through a person's mind like that? A person that wasn't getting in the way of themselves, that wasn't creating their own obstacles. What would they be thinking? Also, what would they be speaking? What words would they be saying? What would they be saying about themselves? What would they be saying about other people? They wouldn't be judging other people. They wouldn't be talking negative about other people. And then how would they be acting? What would their behavior like? How would they move through life? How would they walk? What would their behavior be like? How would they carry themselves? It would be with a quality of nobility and majesty and magnanimity. So journal about that and ruminate that and reflect upon that. And then lastly, number 7, in the morning, mentally rehearse yourself before you go out into the world, before you go out into the day again. It may just be 5 minutes. So 5 minutes of journal and then 5 minutes of mentally rehearsing how you're going to go through your day. Again, what are you thinking? What are you saying? How are you acting based off of your empowered beliefs instead of those negative or limiting beliefs? Maxwell Maltz said that experimental and clinical psychologists have proved beyond a shadow of doubt that the human nervous system cannot tell the difference between an actual experience and an experience imagined vividly and in detail. Now we actually have one more step. I forgot there was one last step, step number 8, and this is important. This is going to be to reinforce those empowered beliefs through the tool of affirmation, supported by elevated emotions. So remember, we talked about the I am phrase, and we talked about how the I am phrase can really bog us down I am not a morning person. I can't do this. I'm not capable. I don't deserve. I'm not worthy. So instead of having a negative I am, you're going to have your positive I am. You're going to affirm what it is that you want. You know, a phrase that I often use throughout my day is, I am healthy. I am wealthy. I am full of love. These are three things that I want to affirm. I want to affirm health. I want to affirm abundance. And I want to affirm love. These three things are deeply important. So I affirm those. When I'm in the car, I'm saying it. And I'm saying it with an elevated emotion. Sometimes I'll even sing it, turn it to a song, and I'll start to feel that emotion of vitality. I'll feel that emotion of power, of abundance. I'll feel that emotion of love, just an unconditional form of love. Just feels so good. It's very important that you affirm with those elevated emotions. And just be consistent. If you only do this stuff every now and then, it's just not going to be that powerful. You got to be consistent. It's like taking, an herbal supplement. If you take it once a week, it's not really going to have an effect. But if you're taking it on a daily basis, even just a little bit, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, every day doing this, being consistent, those small adjustments are going to have a significant impact over time. Benjamin Franklin said, wisdom is measured in routine. Create these routines, automate greatness. I'll probably do a podcast about automating greatness in your life so that it just becomes automatic. It becomes wired in to your brain. Neurons that fire together, wire together. When you repeat things, it wires in the brain. It enriches the brain. So you got to do this stuff over and over and over again. All right, you guys, hope you enjoyed this podcast on why your beliefs have a huge impact. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure that you hit subscribe, leave a comment, leave a review, share this on social media. And let's finish now with the ultimate prayer. May we bring strength where there is weakness. May we bring courage where there is fear. May we bring compassion where there is suffering. And may we bring light where there is darkness. May we be ultimate. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure that you click subscribe and also click the link to get those 3 amazing classes: Power Yoga, Yin Yoga, and Meditation. See you next time.